today the announcement was and what the kickoff means to this area.
Well, today we kicked off Clubhouse for Anderson, Oconee, and Pickens counties, and this would serve those who have mental health issues, some more severe than others, but it is for anyone in our three-county area. And we really want to be part of Clubhouse International because of the standards that they have created that keep everything intact, and that people coming in as members, they're not clients, they're not patients, they're members, that they're all treated with respect and have opportunities.
And what gap does this fill in the mental health area?
The gap that Clubhouse fills in the mental health realm of services is that it lessens incarcerations, it lessens hospitalizations, and it creates an environment where members have purpose. They are able to volunteer, they're able to be part of working, they are able to start or finish their education, so much that gives them a reason to want to be engaged in the community and not in a basement somewhere feeling sorry for themselves or looking for a way to get help. We want help to be here.
Then also one of the goals is to create a sense of community among folks.
Clubhouse International, if you set it up as it's supposed to be, creates a community for the members. They come in, they're part of a unit within the clubhouse, so they have a job to do. They might be the banker, they might be the kitchen staff, they might work at snack bar, or they might be part of doing the noon news, as they call it, at Gateway. But they create a community of people that are wanting to encourage each other and help each other be successful.
And how soon could a clubhouse emerge here?
We are putting together our steering committee, and we'll be working diligently to find a location, create a budget, and begin to create actually a board of directors so that Clubhouse can become its own nonprofit. The most important part of all that will be finding the correct location, and we want it to be centered within the three-county area so that people from all three counties can be part of this. We also know that when the budget's created, we have to start looking for donors and funders. And so it could be several months, it could be a couple of years, but we're dedicated to making this happen.
It's my pleasure to be here this morning. Carol Burdett and I attend the same church. And of course, we were on town council together for a long time. And actually, I've been on town council for 34 years now.
Whoa.
Now, I don't want to say anything about Carol's age, but Carol was on there before I got there. But when she came up to me at church the other week and mentioned to me she'd like to be here, this morning for this event, I didn't really know a lot about what it was about, but I knew if it was coming from her, it'd be something good. So she sent me an email later with about 2 sentences, and my curiosity, of course, got the best of me, so I started looking into it, and I was amazed at what Clubhouse International does. This is an awesome organization. It really is. And we're proud to have it here this morning. So with that, I'd like to, also introduce the CEO of Clubhouse who's here, who's Joel Cochran. And
Yes.
We appreciate you being here, Joel. Thank you very much. And it's just our pleasure here at the town of Pendleton to have you here. We'd love to see you here permanently with the Clubhouse, actually. So we'll keep that in mind. Maybe we can work that out. But again, thank you all for coming. Great to see you here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carol Burdett, this young lady.
Thank you, Mayor Crenshaw. I am happy to say that he is one of my favorite people, and there are people that say when I say that, that means I want something, and I'm always wanting something from him. So we're happy that you're here. Thank you, Kurt. As a lifelong resident of Anderson County and a former mayor here in Pendleton and a longtime director of United Way, I've seen the need for us to help and impact mental illness within our community. I'm excited today to give you just a little glimpse of who all is in the room. We have several elected officials. I'm going to just say we have Senator Rice, Senator Alexander, we have former House members, current House members, future House member, we have law enforcement, we have Rotary, we have NAMI, we have other local government officials, including the mayor of Clemson, along with the mayor of Pendleton, members of our faith community, the director of 10 at the Top, representatives of Anderson University, Clemson University, and Med Health, Tri-County Technical College, and we also have members of the business and industry community in our three-county region, along with a representative of Senator Graham's office. So we are very excited. We wouldn't be here, though, and I have to say this, without someone named Michelle Reedy. Michelle, raise your hand and everybody give her a hand. Michelle had the vision of Clubhouse for our three counties, and we are so appreciative of that. But as we think about mental health today, we know that 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience mental illness in any given year. 1 in 25 have illness so severe that it interferes or impacts or limits their activities. Serious mental illness costs America $193.2 billion, and I did say that with a B, in lost earnings per year. And an estimated 26% of homeless adults staying in shelters live with serious mental illness. A clubhouse community is where these people work together to volunteer, to work to lift each other up, and they have opportunities to start or continue their education, and they're offered the support that becomes the way to an effective, successful life. Clubhouse has been implemented in more than 400 communities in 33 countries around the world since its inception in 1948, and has proven to be successful in rehabilitation, recovery, and reintegration in our communities. This translates into reduced hospitalizations, higher employment, reduced incarcerations, and improved well-being. It is now included in the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's National Registry of Evidence-Based Programs and Practices. That is so important. It is the International Center of Clubhouse Development, being a global network that promotes development and successes through its training and certification programs. In my Carol Burdett language, I'm going to tell you that Clubhouse gives people that we call members purpose. So if I draw this down to Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, there are approximately 400,000 people that live in our three counties. This represents nearly 80,000 people experiencing symptoms of mental health conditions in any given year, and almost 16,000 that are experiencing serious mental illness. I want to go back and say, if I did not recognize earlier Mental Health America, almost your whole board is here today, and I'm so excited. You have a fearless leader named Marlene, who is also, Joel, heading up in Anderson County our new mental health court. So we're very excited about that, and I'm excited that if I left you out, if I did not mention you, we are thankful that your representation is here. I see DHEC, I see multiple other organizations, Department of Mental Health, that the director for our three counties is hugely supportive of what we're doing with Clubhouse. And I will say that we wouldn't be here without the help of the United Ways in all three counties and their support of bringing people. But let me go on to say that this is a partnership between Clubhouse International, the South Carolina Coalition for Clubhouse, and Gateway. So let me tell you who's going to be speaking today. Randy Redlinger, he is the executive director of Gateway in Greenville. He's been there since 2017. He has 28 years of experience in Clubhouse. He also sits on the Clubhouse Advisory Council and is a faculty member for Clubhouse International. Callie Hall is an active member since 2022 of Gateway, and she is a prior resident of Clemson. Callie supports the kitchen unit when at Clubhouse and has worked in transitional employment and is now working independently in her own job in the community. Callie, we look forward to hearing your story. Casey Edmonds is the Officer of Expansion for the South Carolina project of Clubhouse International. Casey has served nearly 20 years in behavioral health and healthcare industries in various leadership and advisory capacities. She was born and raised in South Carolina and now resides in Greenville. Joel Cochran. I didn't say that right. We're going to make Joel. We're happy you're here. We hope you enjoy. Joel is from New York, by the way, and I'm hoping that you enjoyed that Southern breakfast this morning. But Joel is the CEO of Clubhouse International, and he's worked in the field of psychiatric rehabilitation for more than 40 years. In 1994, he joined a group of like-minded people to create Clubhouse International. And again, it is an organization dedicated to Clubhouse approach, ending social and economic isolation for people living with mental illness. He became CEO of Clubhouse International in 1997, and as I said, he currently lives in New York. Let me just run through a little bit of our agenda for today very quickly. Okay, well, maybe not. I'm going to tell you what's on the agenda. We're going to hear about, the Gateway mission and all about Gateway. We're going to hear Callie's story. We're going to hear about the problems within the AOP area and what solution could possibly be in store for us. And then we're going to hear from Joel as he talks about these particular pieces of the global lens. The who, what, the how, and the where. And we will end with next steps at the end. I want to personally say to all of you how excited that I am that you're here. Thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Randy.
Hi, my name is Callie, and this is my story. I've been a member of Gateway since 2019, but my story began much earlier in Clemson, South Carolina. I was raised here till I was 10, and one of my favorite memories was just getting the little tiger paws painted on my face before game day. So this has been a really special place for me. We moved to Virginia when I was 10, and after graduating from high school, I went to the University of Virginia. I loved my experience and loved school, and I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 2006 and started my first job. After about 4 years from graduating, my mental health began to deteriorate. I was in and out of hospitals for the next 10 years or so, and I could only work sporadically. My family was incredible. My parents were a stabilizing force for me and supported me throughout those years. And still, I felt alone and isolated from friends and family because of my diagnosis. While I was in the hospital, I heard about the Clubhouse model, and it has changed my life. After becoming a member of Gateway, I began to feel confident about having a routine and accomplishing things again, step by step. And after a few months, Gateway helped me to work at a local business through the Transitional Employment Program. Working on a TEP helped me to feel more confident and able to work in the community. Since that time, I've got my own job and I've been able to work again. The structure and encouragement at Gateway has helped me feel more a part of a community and less isolated. I also, because of the support of Gateway, again, have my own apartment and am able to live independently. Being a member means being a part of a community of like-minded people pursuing our goals together by participating side by side in things like Randy mentioned, meaningful work, Clubhouse socials, and learning new skills. I work in the kitchen unit, and one of the new skills is we have new recipes all the time, so I'm getting to learn and grow from other people's experiences. And I have learned the importance of community. I've also learned, even with my setbacks, I am resilient. And I am not alone. This has given me hope for my own healing. The best part of being a member is the relationships I've formed with other members and staff. Gateway has assisted me with my dreams and goals. If you or someone you know has a mental illness diagnosis, I would tell you there is hope. The Clubhouse has been life-saving in my own journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy and Callie, for the wonderful story and sharing a little bit more about Gateway today. I know it's a hard act to follow, but I'll do my very best. And so I'll start with the obvious, which is what gives me the credibility to speak to you all about bringing a clubhouse to AOP. And I'd like to share a quick story. Born and raised in South Carolina, I've dedicated going on about 20 years of service to the healthcare industry of our great state, including 8 years in leadership of a national behavioral health telehealth organization. Throughout my career, I've witnessed the impact of mental illness on individuals, families, friends, and communities alike. More personally, and pictured here is my sister, my older sister, Jess, who is clinically diagnosed severe OCD and depression, who was cycling in and out of state hospitals in the year of 2022. Through family support, the right medication, returning to community, and her own desire to return to work and find wellness, Jess's overall well-being is presently restored. However, we know that Jess, like all of us, will need ongoing support and care. My sister is one of the lucky few because not all stories have happy endings. Other stories, like my grandfather who self-isolated and passed by suicide in 2006. And others like my other grandfather who refused treatment and care, becoming the generational subject of alcohol addiction, violence, and child neglect. The silent illness is never truly silent behind closed doors. Since I've joined Clubhouse International, my family has grown. And my role has become a vehicle to share the unique but similar stories of our community members experiencing mental illness. So let's talk about those stories. According to NAMI in 2021, 706,000 South Carolinians have a mental health condition and 183,000 have a serious mental illness such as schizophrenia, bipolar, schizoaffective disorder, severe depression, and other chronic clinical diagnoses. To put this in perspective, this is double the population of the AOP region counties alone. More than half of these individuals have not received needed mental health care, and we know that unaffordable health care cost is a primary driver for health negligence. Furthermore, over 2 million people in South Carolina alone live where there is no or limited access to mental health care. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. The picture is more daunting when we look at unemployment rates, however, for those with mental illness. South Carolina currently ranks 12th in the nation with the highest unemployment rate of individuals with serious mental illness. And what we know is that not having sustainable income can force people into life-altering situations, including inconsistent, unsafe, and deplorable housing conditions. Sadly, untreated mental illness often results in short and long-term experiences of homelessness. Additionally, we see a trend with individuals landing in jail rather than getting needed mental health care. According to an estimation of the true global burden of mental illness published in the Lancet Psychiatry, 360,000 people with mental illness are living in U.S. prisons. Only 35,000 are in hospitals. You heard that correctly. 360,000 in prisons, 35,000 in hospitals. That's nearly 90% more individuals in prisons rather than getting the inpatient mental health services that they need and deserve. Sheriff Leon Lott of Richland County has even publicly stated that we need better solutions for people with mental illness because the largest mental health center we have in South Carolina appears to be his jail. I needn't tell anyone in this room what it could do to you if you were arrested rather than admitted to a hospital when you were going through a healthcare crisis. Which leads me to some of the most disheartening statistics that we see, and that is in 2021, 811 lives in South Carolina were lost by suicide, and 189,000 adults have thoughts of suicide. The problem does not stop there, though. According to the U.S. Department of Justice investigation of July last year, the DOJ concludes that there is a reasonable cause to believe that the state of South Carolina violates Title II of the Americans with Disability Act I won't read you the title there, but it's 12132, all of those fun numbers. By failing to provide services to individuals with serious mental illness in the most integrated setting appropriate to their needs. Some key findings in this investigation include there are not adequate community-based services to avoid institutionalization. There's a reliance on community residential care facilities, or adult care homes as we commonly would call them. There's a limited choice and independence and opportunities to be a part of the community while in these homes. Individuals are referred to as residents or patients who typically have a roommate. I don't know about you, but roommates, been there, done that. Don't want to sign up again. Set meal times and only allowed to leave occasionally. Some residents are on restricted leave while others lack access to public transit or walkability. These facilities house individuals with serious mental illness up to 35 years, with an average of about 5 years for most. That is the opposite of breaking down the mental health stigma and helping those with individuals recover and return to their communities. It's like having a heart attack and going in to see your surgeon who's going to replace the stent, and so he opens you up and then he never puts the stent in. So the point is that it is critically important to ensure that these individuals are afforded the opportunity to live and receive services in their own homes and communities, consistent with the ADA's integration mandate. So another indicator of mental health resources is the provider ratio. The ratio represents the number of individuals served by one mental health provider in a county if the population were equally distributed across providers. According to Prisma Health 2022 and ANMED Health 2021, most recent community health needs assessments, these ratios range from 590 to about 1,010 to 1 in the AOP region, as you can see on this slide. In 2023, Mental Health America ranked South Carolina 44 of 50 to access to care. It is commonly known that South Carolina has the lowest number of mental health treatment centers compared to all other states, but we have seen an increase in providers by 18% between 2016 and 2020, demonstrating the acknowledgement of mental health issues throughout our state. So though AOP may be better off than the 14 to 46 counties that we have across the state, we still have some room to grow to make mental health accessible, mental health care accessible. And another succinct way to observe data for behavioral health and access to care is to examine the amount of emergency room visits for behavioral health and their aggregate cost. This data found in ANMED's Community Mental Health Needs Assessment demonstrates a continued increase in visits for behavioral health issues with a corresponding cost, which is a plausible cause of a lack of access to care for lower income community residents. In the same assessment, we can also see ED visits of ANMED alone only secondary to heart disease, and we know that heart disease is often correlated to mental health, whether hereditary or non-hereditary factors. When we look into this issue even further, we also want to look at demand and readiness. This is a slide from DHEC speaking to developing a recovery-supported employment in the Appalachian Mountain region of South Carolina, which of course includes Pickens County. The Clubhouse model decreases incarceration rates by $40 to $130 million annually, with a cost estimate of $20,000 to $65,000 per inmate per year. The Clubhouse model nearly doubles employment rates at accredited clubhouses. That's triple the national average of about 15%. Gateway specifically has provided pre-vocational training and job opportunities with local businesses to help over 50% of its members, so 15 to 50%, work on competitive jobs in their communities. That's $250,000 total earnings per year for those members. The Clubhouse model increases decent, affordable, and dignified housing opportunities for all members. Gateway has contributed to reducing the amount of homeless individuals living with mental illness by supporting over 70% of its membership to sustain independent living. And 90% of clubhouses have an educational component like Randy spoke to. And this varies by member base and by clubhouse, from members specifically pursuing things like their GED all the way up to their master's and PhD level. The Clubhouse International model is cost effective, averaging 33 to 50% less than the cost of other models. Moreover, a year of Clubhouse services is equal to or less than 2 weeks in a psychiatric hospital. Less than or equal to 2 weeks. We have also seen the Clubhouse model decrease the number of hospitalization by 33% and average number of hospital days by 70%. What Randy didn't tell you is that at Gateway, they've seen a reduction in need for psychiatric hospitalization with less than 1% recidivism annually. This saves the state millions of dollars with the reduction of hospital stays, ER visits, incarceration, about $2 million for Greenville alone. Speaking of saving our state money, our founding clubhouse, Fountain House in New York City, released a new report called Beyond Treatment: How Clubhouses for People Living with Serious Mental Illness Transform Lives and Save Money, showcasing the tremendous economic and societal benefit of clubhouses. So you see the chart on the screen. This is a chart that demonstrates cost savings for a clubhouse member with serious mental illness like schizophrenia or someone with a high need. This report also demonstrates a cost savings of $682 million per year based on the nearly 60,000 persons who participate in clubhouses annually. Direct and indirect costs of serious mental illness is accounted for in our economic model. So expanding clubhouses to serve even 5% of the 15.4 million Americans living with serious mental illness would significantly improve the life trajectories of those 770,000 people in ways that could create cost savings to a society of more than 8.5 billion, yes, like Carol said, with a B, a year. This shows in the report by the following economic breakdowns. You'll see a little bit of detail here. Of course, we look at mental health care costs, physical health costs, criminal justice costs, public benefits costs like SSI and SSDI, and more indirectly lost wages due to unemployment. And if you're interested, of course, learning more, the link will be provided on the slide. I'm happy to send this out to you later. So today, we've taken a look at the current problem across our nation, across the world, but more importantly, across our Palmetto State. And to further discuss the potential of how these clubhouses can impact our community.
I have to tell you, in my role at Clubhouse International, this is my favorite activity. My favorite activity to be together in a room full of people who are taking the time to show an interest in how we can solve the issues facing our communities regarding mental illness. So, we heard from Carol about the interest here. We heard from Randy about how a clubhouse was built and is organized down the road at Gateway in Greenville. We heard from Callie somebody's personal experience about how it worked for them. And Casey just gave us some rather dramatic numbers about the crisis that is the mental health crisis facing the world, not just South Carolina, and what part of the solution is. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Clubhouse International, which is the organization whose mission is to promote and protect clubhouses across the world. Clubhouse International is the only global mental health nonprofit that expands and enhances recovery opportunities for people living with mental illness by promoting the clubhouse model of psychosocial rehabilitation, and to help bring clubhouses into mental health systems, and even where there are no mental health systems, into communities that need mental health services, because mental illness is prevalent across the world. It doesn't discriminate for socioeconomic reasons or by geographic boundaries or by politics. It's the same everywhere. The Clubhouse model is a time-tested approach that complements available psychiatric services. A clubhouse addresses social and economic factors as part of a comprehensive approach to find solutions to the urgent crisis of mental illness. Our mission at Clubhouse International is ending social and economic isolation for people living with mental illness by developing clubhouse rehabilitation programs everywhere. Our vision is a world where people with mental illness recover and are an integral part of society. Another way to say our vision is we think that clubhouses should be as commonplace in the world as Boys and Girls Clubs, senior centers, YMCAs, and Rotary Clubs. That's the position we think that clubhouses have in the world. Since 1994, Clubhouse International has succeeded in creating something that didn't exist before, an international community that is changing the world of mental health. Through local clubhouses around the world, we offer people living with mental illness opportunities for friendship, employment, housing, education, and help accessing medical and psychiatric services in a single, caring, safe environment. We do this so that people living with mental illness can reclaim their futures and live personally satisfying lives in the communities of their choice. So, this is a map that shows you where clubhouses are today around the world. This is from our website. You can go on our website and scroll over those and see the contact information of cities and states and towns where they are. As you've heard a few times today, we're at exactly 355 clubhouses in 33 countries today. We are growing. We're adding about 15 new clubhouses per year around the world. There are currently 210 clubhouses in the United States. So what do we do at Clubhouse International? Our job is to educate mental health stakeholders and the general community about the issues facing people living with mental illness, and to promote the Clubhouse model of psychosocial rehabilitation as an important part of the solution. Not the whole solution, but an important piece of that solution. We are responsible for the international standards for Clubhouse programs, internationally agreed upon best practices that are updated every 2 years. We are the coordinators of Clubhouse training worldwide through, as Randy mentioned, 12 authorized Clubhouse training centers, 5 in the United States, 7 outside the United States, that provide consistent, comprehensive training and ongoing follow-up support for clubhouses in local communities. We promote and support new clubhouse development, assisting communities around the world, communities like yours, learn about, start, build, and sustain clubhouses. We are the conveners of clubhouse conferences and seminars where we educate clubhouse members and staff, clubhouse boards of directors, funding sources, and the general community about how clubhouses fit into your community. We are advocates for improving mental health services everywhere. We are also the accrediting body for clubhouses. I mentioned those international standards for clubhouse programs. We have a formal accreditation process that the Clubhouse International community created to hold each other accountable to very high standards. We also assist with ongoing research and evaluation, often partnering with academic institutions to not only demonstrate the effectiveness of clubhouse models, but to continue to look at ourselves to see where we can get better. Let me say a bit about the international standards for clubhouse programs. In our Clubhouse International network, we are committed to high-quality programming and providing meaningful, recovery-oriented opportunities for our participants, members. Let me say something about membership. The reason why membership is important, that term is important to us, because people don't come to clubhouses to be taught, to be trained, to receive treatment, but they come to participate with ownership and responsibility for that community. People get something from the clubhouse for themselves, but they also contribute back to the larger community. We believe in the potential of every person, regardless of the severity of their disability when they come to us. We believe in their potential to not only recover, but to contribute to a community and to the larger community. Our standards are agreed upon by all of our member clubhouses and define the clubhouse model of psychosocial rehabilitation. The standards include categories of membership, relationships, space, work order day, employment, education, functions of the house, and funding, governance, and administration. Our standards are at the heart of the success experienced by clubhouses around the world, helping people with mental illness stay out of hospitals while achieving social, financial, educational, and vocational goals. Our standards serve as a Bill of Rights for clubhouse members and a code of ethics for clubhouse staff, boards, and administrators, and a reminder that clubhouses must be places that offer respect and opportunities to members. Respect and meaningful opportunities. I heard Randy mention that word a few times. Not just opportunities as defined by some textbook, but opportunities that are meaningful to the person who's receiving those. Our standards reflect the values of self-determination, empowerment, inclusion, and the potential for success. Our standards also provide the basis for our training and our quality assurance and ongoing quality improvement program, our Clubhouse Accreditation Program. As I mentioned earlier, the Clubhouse standards are updated every 2 years. This is accomplished through a rigorous consensus building process that involves members and staff from clubhouses around the world, current members and staff, so that our standards review process is relevant to the people who are receiving those services today. The biennial process ensures that our clubhouse standards evolve with the changing times and reflect the interests and concerns of clubhouse members today. Just another quick look at the categories of the standards. But they all are about giving people agency in their own lives, giving people opportunities, and drawing on the talents and strengths of people, and treating people with respect as dignified colleagues, and not as patients or people who are somehow less than others. Oops. Our accreditation process is a formal accreditation process that we created to hold each other accountable to our very high standards, to make sure that not only if you're taking public and private money to deliver clubhouses, that you're doing that, but also that every clubhouse is continually thinking about improving and getting better. Our clubhouse accreditation program is conducted by clubhouses doing a self-evaluation and an objective peer review process involving current members and staff of clubhouses around the world who are trained to carry out this evaluation, this accreditation process, and provide helpful support. The accreditation process is Clubhouse International's way, not only making sure that all of our clubhouses are operating at a very high level, but we are always focused on helping each other get stronger. You may have heard about programs that call themselves clubhouses but aren't sure whether they're actually a clubhouse or not. One way to know if the clubhouse that you come across, the program that you come across that uses the name clubhouse is clubhouse, is to ask them if they're accredited, or look them up on our website. You can see whether they're accredited or not. Well, just bouncing around. Okay. So where do clubhouses fit into the current mental health system? Well, you've probably figured out that we feel a tremendous need for people. Clubhouses are a wraparound service that fill many of the gaps in the medical model system. Clubhouse is not a medical model service, but it is supportive of good health care in the community. The Clubhouse model of psychosocial rehabilitation is organized to provide individuals living with mental illness an intentional community where they can find understanding and the help needed to overcome the social and economic effects of their illness. It is a place where people with mental illness are welcomed and needed every day. While traditional healthcare services and treatments such as medication, outpatient therapy, emergency services, and an inpatient hospitals are important and necessary to any mental health system, these are typically short-term interventions that do not provide the ongoing recovery and sustainable support for people who've had their whole lives disrupted drastically by mental illness. Like any serious health condition, mental illness impacts every aspect of a person's life, including family, social, networks, employment, education, and often housing and general health and safety. People with serious mental illness typically become isolated and struggle with loneliness and loss of hope. The more a person is isolated, the harder it becomes to rebuild a participatory life in the community. Social and economic isolation leads to desperation, and desperation then often leads to health and safety issues and an increased need for more intensive services. A clubhouse provides an important part of the solution in any community mental health system. It serves as a one-stop shop for recovery-oriented assistance. This voluntary program is a comprehensive opportunity center that addresses the social determinants of health, including, again, access and participation in quality health care, housing, employment and education, social integration, meaning friendships, transportation, recreation, and wellness. The clubhouse is a long-term solution and is flexible and responsive to the changing needs and interests of both the members and the community where they live. You know, people's needs change as they begin to get better, or if they begin to get sick again. So the clubhouse is flexible and responsive to that. The typical clubhouse is available at least 6 days per week, 50 to 75 hours per week. It is an intentional community that provides people with mental illness not only an array of opportunities, but the clubhouse also provides assistance connecting with healthcare and social services. The clubhouse is an important partner in the mental health system. The clubhouse often can be a place where, because people know each other, because it's a community, the clubhouse provides early intervention, preventing crisis situations that can often lead to the need for more intensive services. This drives down the cost that Casey was talking about earlier. We help fill the gaps in the system throughout the week by being there for members day in and day out when they need and want to participate. Here in South Carolina, you were fortunate enough to have one of our 12 authorized training centers. Gateway is an extraordinary place, and I want to reiterate the invitation to go and visit Gateway. It'll be one of the best hours you've spent all year. As you know, every state's a little bit different, but what we regularly see is that when a clubhouse comes to a community, it builds a great relationship with that community, with the other social services and healthcare systems, with the other not-for-profits, with community businesses, with religious organizations, with community-based organizations, with academic institutions and organizations. Clubhouses become great partners in the community. With intentionally accepted best practices, consistent and comprehensive training programs, and a formal accreditation program, and a local and global network of support, clubhouses are a great fit in any community. And I'm going to wrap up very quickly here. I'm going to tell you just a very, very quick story. I travel a lot, see a lot of clubhouses in my work. A few years ago, I was in Milwaukee at the Grand Avenue Club. I was there for a meeting all day long. And at the end of this meeting, I had to catch a plane, so I was watching the clock. And just as I was getting ready to leave, one of the members of the clubhouse said to me, "Hey, Joel, did you meet Bill?" I said, I toured the clubhouse. I met a lot of people today. He said, "Oh, no, you'd know Bill. If you met him, you know Bill. He's been waiting to talk to you for 2 weeks." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Let me go get Bill." I said, "Oh my, I don't have much time." "Okay, go get Bill." So Bill came in. He was very excited. I was sitting. He was pacing back and forth across the room. He said, "Are you Joel Corcoran? Are you Corcoran? Are you Joel Corcoran?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Are you the director of Clubhouse International?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Joel Corcoran?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "I have something to tell you." He said, "I grew up here outside Milwaukee. I grew up here. I went to school here. I went to a nice middle-class family. And then I got into and went to Yale. I finished at Yale. and went on to Wharton School of Business and got my MBA. And then I got a job on Wall Street. I got married, had a family, had a nice house in Greenwich, Connecticut. And then I got sick. Then I got sick. I lost my job. I lost my house. I lost my family. And 3 years ago, I had to move back here to Milwaukee and live in my mother's basement. He said, for a year and a half, I just stayed in the basement watching TV, smoking cigarettes, and drinking coffee. He said that my therapist kept bugging me to come over to Grand Avenue Club. I finally did. Now, in my job, I'm used to people telling me, Joel, you know, this clubhouse is really important. It's not only a good place, but it saved my life. So I always pay attention to that. I always pay attention and stop and listen because it's a serious message. This place saved my life. So I was listening to that when Bill was talking to me. And Bill said, Joel, you know, I stood across the street for 2 weeks watching people come in and out of here before I decided to come in. I decided to come in because they looked happy and busy. He said, you know, when we see people around the community, like in bus stations and train stations and downtown, who are homeless and struggling and panhandling, he said, are you familiar with those people? I said, yes. And he said, a lot of those people have mental illness. And I said, yes. And he said, Joel, this place saved my life. And I thought, I said, Bill, he said, no, Joel, that's not my message for you. He said, those people that are on the street corners panhandling and are homeless and are struggling with mental illness, they could really benefit from a clubhouse like this. They could really benefit. And I said, yes, they could, Bill. He said, but here's my message, and please tell it to people whenever you get a chance to speak in front of them. He said, that's not where most of us are. Most of us are not on the street corners panhandling or homeless. Most of us are in our mother's basement, drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes, watching TV, and too afraid to come out. That's why we need more clubhouses. We need to reach the people that we don't see every day. So thank you for listening to me. I'm sorry I took a little extra time to tell you that story. Carol?
Okay. I just want to talk, just if you'll give me about 5 minutes. Let's give another hand for our speakers today. And I want to share with you, Alan McNamara could not be here today. He is the director of the Patrick B. Harris Psychiatric Hospital that covers the upstate. This is what he said to me. He said, I am so sorry that I cannot be with you, but Clubhouse International is an awesome organization that is literally transformational. And that is coming from someone who knows the area of mental health. So I wanted to share that with you today. I want to say that we are thankful for Clemson Little Theater for having us here today, to Ben Phillips for the great sound, for my United Way staff for the great work they did. Didn't they do a good job in putting this together? And also for the United Way Board of Directors that supervise me and allowing me to work on Clubhouse. I would like to say to Mayor Crenshaw that when I saw that map up there, I could see that little dot saying Pendleton. And you know why Pendleton? It is the exact geographic center of Anderson, Oconee, and Pickens County, and it was planned that way. Can't you see that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So how can you be a part of that? If you have heard something today that makes you want to be involved in the startup of a clubhouse that would serve our 3 counties, please see me, give me a note, do something that lets me know that today. Also, we want to make sure that you know that you can talk to Casey supporting the South Carolina Clubhouse Coalition. We also want you to know that there will be 2 people at the registration table as you go out, Heather and Courtney. Raise your hands. See those 2 beautiful young ladies at the back? They're going to be back there. We have 3 dates already set with Sally. Sally, raise your hand. You have gotten no recognition today, but Sally works at Gateway, and they've already scheduled with Sally. If you want to choose one of those dates, you see them And if those dates don't work, we will be planning more tours of Gateway. Don't worry, but please see them. They'll be out front. Also, this Wednesday is Mental Health Advocacy Day at the Capitol. And Senators Alexander and Senator Rice, we hope we'll be seeing you at the State House this week. Stay in touch. Spread the word. If you heard something this morning that just is going to stay with you, I want you to tell somebody about it this week. So takeaways, you've got a page in front of you that would allow you to write down anything. The thing that I want you to really think about is how would your organization, we have lots of organizations in the room, be a part of Clubhouse? And then any thoughts, ideas that you want to share with us, we're all ears.
How you got involved in this? You could have put your time and energy towards something else. Why did you get involved in this organization?
Well, I got involved in this organization because as a young man, I began working in state hospitals and the mental health system, helping people come out of the hospitals, live in the community. And I was very motivated by that because of some friends of mine that were living with mental illness and struggling with that. But when I learned how we treated people with mental illness, in fact, I couldn't believe it. And so I started helping people get out of the hospitals. The problem was, when they got out of the hospital, there was nothing there for people. And I became motivated and I began to work in the mental health field and eventually discovered Fountain House in New York. An extraordinary place started by people living with mental illness, forming an organization called We Are Not Alone, which later some volunteers helped them get a building that had a fountain in the backyard, and they changed the name to Fountain House. But this model is extraordinary because it draws on the talents and strengths of people living with mental illness and a commitment to believing that people can recover and have their place as full citizens in the community. So for me, it's been motivating for 40 years now to do this. And, you know, I am surrounded by extraordinary people. Most of the people doing work to promote this way of working to strengthen clubhouses are members and staff of clubhouses and volunteer board members. They're all volunteers of helping us grow.
You mentioned some in your talk here, but what are just some of the distinctives about clubhouses that make it different from other organizations that work with folks who are struggling with mental illness?
Well, I think the first is, you know, some basic values, the belief in the potential that everybody, no matter how currently disabled they are by their illness, has the potential to thrive and achieve their personally satisfying goals in life. If you believe that, you know, then anything's possible. Second is creating an environment where people are empowered to take part in their own recovery and to design and implement the strategies and goals that are important to them. I think that's something that's unique. You know, the focus on education and employment is central to the Clubhouse way of working, because if you ask people living with mental illness across the world, you know, I don't know, 80 or 90% of folks are going to tell you, once you get past a cursory conversation, that being employed is a life goal, like it is for most of us, you know, when we're at an employment age, you know. And so the fact that clubhouses help people overcome the barriers to employment and succeed at employment is an extraordinary aspect of the Clubhouse way of working. It's one of the things that draws people living with mental illness to the Clubhouse in the first place, because they can see that opportunity system. We like to say a Clubhouse has big doors in. Anybody living with a history of mental illness is welcome to be a member of a Clubhouse. But the Clubhouse has even bigger doors back out, integrating into community businesses, back into education, participating in community services and support. So this belief that members, people living with mental illness, have a right to be a full citizen, a full part of their community, and the belief that they can do that and thrive is central to our way of working.
And how important is building a sense of community among folks a major factor of clubhouses?
Well, community is the treatment, it is the model, it is the therapy. Creating an intentional community where people are needed, wanted, welcomed, that's voluntary, is absolutely central. If you have to go to a program and you have to follow somebody else's rules and somebody else's schedule and you're struggling with the issues of mental illness, that's very hard. But if you can go to a place where people understand, where you're safe to talk about what's going on with you, where you can participate as much or as little as you want to, and you can pick and choose the opportunities that best meet your interests and needs, and be surrounded by people who are committed to you having success, your chances of recovery and building a personally satisfying life go way up.